The snow crunched under my shoes as I walked toward Daniel's house. The windows glowed with Christmas lights, red and gold shining like a promise of warmth. I whispered to myself, "This is the first Christmas dinner together. It will be perfect." My hands trembled, but not from the cold. It was hope, fragile and trembling like a candle in the wind. The door opened before I could knock. Daniel stood there, tall, handsome, his hair slicked back just like his father used to do. "Mom, you made it," he said, smiling. "Of course I did," I whispered. How could I miss my son's first Christmas dinner with his wife? He stepped aside and I walked in. The living room was bright, full of laughter and the scent of roasted turkey. Claire appeared in a glittering red dress, her lips curved in a polite smile that never reached her eyes. "You're here," she said flatly. "Yes, dear. Thank you for having me." She turned her head, already calling to someone else. "Richard, Martha, come meet Daniel's mother." Her parents glided over, dressed to perfection. Richard shook my hand with a firm grip. "So nice to finally meet you," he said. "Yes," Martha added, her voice sweet but distant. "Daniel and Claire have told us so much." I smiled gently. "Only good things, I hope." Claire laughed lightly. "We'll see." I swallowed, pretending not to hear the edge in her tone. My eyes drifted around the room. The tree sparkled, gifts already piled beneath it. Friends and neighbors chatted, glasses clinking, and yet I felt strangely out of place. Daniel touched my arm. "Mom, sit here by me." I lowered myself into the chair beside him. "It's beautiful, Daniel. You've made a real home." He nodded. "Claire worked hard on the decorations." Claire's voice cut in. "Yes, I wanted everything perfect. It's our first real family Christmas after all." I forced a smile. "I'm glad to be part of it." Tom, one of Daniel's colleagues, leaned across the table. "Daniel tells us you worked a lot when he was younger." I chuckled softly. "More than a lot. Double shifts, late nights. But it was worth it to see him succeed." Daniel looked down at his plate. "Yeah. Mom sacrificed everything for me." Claire raised a brow. "Well, now he has us. Things are different." The words stung, but I pressed my lips together. "I would not ruin the evening." Martha asked, "Was it difficult raising him alone?" I took a sip of water before answering. "It was the hardest thing I've ever done. But when you love someone that much, you find strength you didn't know you had." Richard nodded politely, but his eyes flicked back to Claire as if dismissing me already. Daniel tried to lighten the moment. "Mom used to sew my clothes when I was little. Do you remember that, Mom?" I laughed softly. "Every night. You'd tear your pants climbing trees and I'd be stitching until midnight." Claire tilted her head. "How quaint." I met her gaze. It wasn't quaint. It was survival. But Daniel never went without. The room fell quiet for a moment before chatter rose again. I listened, but my thoughts drifted to my late husband. He would have sat here proudly, his arm around me, his eyes shining as Daniel led the table. Instead, I was alone, holding on to memories like fragile glass. "Mom," Daniel said gently, "are you okay?" "Yes, I'm fine," I replied. "Just remembering." He smiled. "Dad." I nodded. "Always." Claire's eyes rolled almost imperceptibly. "Shall we start the dinner now?" she asked loudly, breaking the softness. Plates filled with turkey, potatoes, and cranberry sauce circled the table. I tasted the food, but it felt like ashes. Around me, voices rose and fell, stories told, laughter shared. I smiled where appropriate, but my heart remained quiet. Tom asked again, "So what do you do now, Mrs. Evans?" "I manage," I said simply. "I keep busy." Claire interjected. "She doesn't really work anymore. She's retired." I corrected her softly. "I never retired. I just don't talk much about what I do." Claire's eyes narrowed for a second, but she quickly turned to her mother. "Martha, pass me the wine." Daniel leaned closer. "Mom, don't mind her. She wants tonight to be perfect." "I know," I whispered. "I only want your happiness." The candles flickered, casting long shadows across the table. For a moment I saw myself reflected in the silver cutlery, older lines etched into my skin, eyes tired but still alive. I said softly, "All I ever wanted was to see you loved, Daniel." He squeezed my hand. Mom. Don't worry." I nodded, but deep inside, something unsettled stirred. The warmth of the house could not chase it away. I felt like a guest, not a mother. As laughter filled the room again, Claire's voice rose above the others. To family, she toasted. Everyone lifted their glasses. I did too, though my fingers trembled. To family, I echoed, though the words tasted hollow. And in that moment, surrounded by light and cheer, I wondered quietly to myself, was there still a place for me in this family, or had I already been pushed to the edge unseen? The dining room glowed with golden light, the long table set like something from a magazine. Candles flickered, silverware gleamed, and laughter rolled across the walls. I sat quietly watching, listening. Claire clapped her hands. Everyone settle down. Dinner is ready. Richard, her father, raised his glass. To my daughter who's made this evening beautiful. To Claire, several voices echoed. I smiled faintly and whispered, yes, it's lovely. Claire turned toward me with a practiced smile. Oh, thank you. Tom leaned forward. Daniel, this is amazing. Claire really outdid herself. Daniel chuckled. Yeah, she worked hard. Claire smirked. Harder than anyone realizes. I folded my napkin across my lap. It shows. Martha leaned close to her daughter. The flowers, the lights, the menu, perfect. Of course, Claire said, tilting her chin. I want everything to feel elevated. Daniel reached for the bread basket. Mom, have some. Thank you, I said, taking a piece. Mr. Lee, the neighbor, spoke from the far side. Daniel, you're lucky. Not every wife can host like this. Claire laughed. Well, not every man deserves it. But mine does. I forced a small laugh, though it stung. Richard cleared his throat. So, Daniel, how's work at the firm? Busy, Daniel replied. Tom and I have been closing a new deal. Tom grinned. He's the hardest worker I know. Claire leaned in, eyes sharp. He's not the only hard worker at this table. Daniel chuckled nervously. True, true. I sipped my water. I'm proud of you, Daniel. I always knew you'd do well. He smiled faintly. Thanks, Mom. Claire interrupted. He couldn't have done it without me, you know. I keep everything in order. Martha touched her daughter's hand. Yes, dear, you've been a blessing. I swallowed the words on my tongue. Instead, I whispered, family should support each other. That's what makes success real. Claire's eyes flickered, but she turned away. The turkey was carved, plates passed around. Mr. Lee said, So, Mrs. Evans, do you live nearby? Yes, not far, I replied. Mrs. Lee added, We never see you. You must be busy. I keep to myself, I said. I've always been that way. Claire gave a short laugh. She's private, yes. Doesn't like to talk about much. Daniel frowned. Claire. He shrugged. It's true. I looked down at my plate. The food smelled wonderful, but my appetite was thin. Richard raised his fork. This turkey is perfection. Only the best, Claire said proudly. Tom asked, Daniel, do you and Claire plan on kids soon? The table erupted with chatter. Claire tossed her hair. Not yet. We're building our future first. Martha chimed in. Yes, no rush. Children are a lot of work. I whispered, They're worth it though. Claire turned, her voice honeyed. I'm sure you'd know, wouldn't you? The sarcasm was light but sharp. Daniel stiffened. Claire, stop. She laughed. I'm just saying. Richard quickly changed the subject. So, Tom, how long have you worked with Daniel? Tom launched into a story and laughter rolled again. I sat still, listening, smiling politely, but each laugh felt like it passed over me. Daniel leaned close. Mom, you okay? Yes, I whispered. Don't worry. But I did worry. I worried about the distance in his eyes, the way he let her words slide past, the way I was treated like a quiet shadow in a room full of light. Claire raised her glass again. To the future, she said. Everyone lifted their glasses. I did too, though my fingers shook. To the future, I echoed softly. The table roared with cheer. But inside I wondered whose future I was truly part of anymore. After the plates were cleared, Claire clapped her hands like a hostess on stage. Now comes the fun part, gifts. Excitement rippled through the room. Wrapping paper rustled, bows glittered under the tree lights. I folded my hands in my lap, trying to steady my breath. Claire bent down, lifted a box and handed it to Martha. For you, Mother. A silk scarf from Paris. Martha gasped. Oh, darling, it's gorgeous. Richard beamed. Only the best for your mother. Another package appeared. Dad, this is for you, custom cufflinks. Richard laughed proudly. Exquisite, Claire. Claire turned with a wide smile. Tummy too. I know how hard you and Daniel work, so here. Tom unwrapped a sleek watch. Wow. This must have cost a fortune. Claire smirked. You deserve it. Daniel chuckled. Looks good on you, Tom. Neighbors leaned in. Do we get gifts too? Mr. Lee teased. Claire pulled 2 small bags. Of course. Mrs. Lee scented candles. Mr. Lee imported whiskey. Laughter and thanks filled the room. I watched my chest tightening. Each package, each smile, each grateful hug. And still I sat empty-handed. Claire kept pulling from the pile. Perfume for a cousin. A leather wallet for a friend. Even chocolates for the Lee's children who weren't there tonight. I forced a smile as the pile under the tree grew smaller. Finally, one last box remained. Claire held it high. Ah, the final one. I straightened in my chair, my heart pounding. She set it in front of Richard again. A little extra for Dad. He deserves it. Gasps and laughter rose as Richard unwrapped a gold pen. Magnificent, he said, holding it up. The room clapped politely. Everyone turned back to their conversations. But no one turned to me. I sat frozen, my smile glued in place though my hands trembled. Claire glanced at me, her eyes cold. Oh, did I miss someone? The words sliced through me. Daniel shifted uncomfortably. Claire. She laughed lightly. Relax, Daniel. I'm only teasing. Mother doesn't need gifts. She has us. A few chuckles fluttered around the table. My cheeks burned. I forced a laugh, brittle and hollow. Of course. What more could I need? Martha quickly said, it's the thought that counts. Richard added, not everyone needs presents. Mr. Lee looked down, embarrassed. His wife whispered, that was awkward. Daniel cleared his throat. Mom. I raised a hand. It's fine. My voice shook, but I smiled. Truly. Inside my heart cracked. Years of sacrifice flashed in my mind. Me sewing his clothes, packing lunches, walking home in the snow after long shifts, all to give Daniel a better life. And now I was invisible. Claire lifted her glass. To generosity. Everyone raised theirs, though a few avoided my eyes. To generosity, they echoed. I whispered, yes. To generosity. Daniel leaned close. Mom, I'm sorry. She went too far. I whispered back, don't apologize for her. He winced but stayed silent. Claire stood, gathering the discarded paper. Well, wasn't that fun? Voices rose again, laughter returned. The room buzzed with cheer as if my humiliation hadn't just taken place. I sat still, my smile a mask, my eyes burning. Finally, Mrs. Lee leaned toward me. That wasn't right. I forced a smile. It's Christmas. Let's not spoil it. She nodded sadly, patting my hand. I whispered to myself, Merry Christmas indeed. And though my voice was steady, my heart whispered another truth. This was the moment I would never forget. The laughter in the room grew louder, but I could barely hear it. My ears rang with the echo of Claire's words. She doesn't need gifts, she has us. I pressed my palms together under the table, whispering to myself, don't cry. Not here. Daniel leaned close. Mom, are you okay? Yes, I said quickly. I'm fine. But I wasn't. My chest felt heavy, every breath shallow. Claire caught my eye from across the table. You're so quiet. Are we boring you? I forced a smile. Not at all. I'm enjoying the evening. Richard chuckled. She's just modest. Martha added, yes, some people don't need to be the center of attention. Claire smirked. Exactly. I lowered my gaze to my untouched plate. Mr. Lee shifted uncomfortably. So, Daniel, tell us about that big project at work. Daniel cleared his throat, grateful for the change. It's been intense, but Tom and I are close to finishing the deal. Tom grinned. Couldn't have done it without him. The conversation swirled around me again, voices overlapping. I sat silently, nodding when someone glanced my way, smiling when expected, but inside I was sinking. My mind slipped to another Christmas years ago when Daniel was 7. He had begged for a toy car I couldn't afford. I worked 2 extra shifts, skipped meals and bought it anyway. He had hugged me so tightly that day, whispering, "You're the best mom in the world." Now that memory felt poisoned. Claire's laughter snapped me back. "Oh, Daniel, remember last summer at the villa?" "Yes," he said softly. She leaned into him, ignoring me completely. "Those were the best weeks. Just us." My throat tightened. I whispered, "I gave everything, and still I'm nothing here." Mrs. Lee caught it and frowned. "You're not nothing," she whispered back gently. But her words couldn't mend the cracks spreading through me. Daniel turned to me again. "Mom, please eat something." I pushed the plate slightly away. "I'm not hungry." Claire raised a brow. "Not even hungry? How unusual." The table chuckled lightly. My face burned. I stood quickly. "Excuse me. I just need a moment." Chairs scraped as people shifted, but no one stopped me. I walked into the hallway, my footsteps muffled by the rug. The noise of laughter dulled behind me. In the quiet, I pressed my hand against the wall. "Why does it hurt so much?" I whispered. Tears slid down my cheeks. I carried him in my arms, worked my body to the bone, and now he sits silent while she cuts me down. I closed my eyes. My late husband's face appeared in memory, his strong hands, his voice saying, "Take care of our boy. He'll be your pride." I whispered, "I tried. God knows I tried." Behind me, faint laughter rose again. My humiliation was forgotten by them already. But for me it was carved into my chest. I straightened slowly, wiped my tears and whispered, "Not tonight. They won't see me break." I returned to the table, my smile fixed once more. Daniel glanced up nervously. "Mom." "I'm fine," I said calmly, sitting down. "Let's continue." Claire sipped her wine. "Good. We wouldn't want the evening ruined." The others laughed softly, the moment passing. But inside me something shifted. A seed of steel planted itself deep, though no one could see it yet. The laughter around the table blurred again, but inside me, silence grew heavy. My smile remained fixed, but my heart whispered, "Enough." Claire raised her glass. "Another toast. To success and to the bright future ahead." Everyone lifted their drinks. I lifted mine too, though my fingers trembled. "To success," voices echoed. I whispered, "To truth," and drank. Daniel noticed my quietness. "Mom, do you want dessert?" Claire made her special pudding. "I'm not hungry," I said softly. Claire smirked. "She's never hungry, it seems. Maybe she's dieting." Laughter rippled lightly. I forced a chuckle. "Or maybe I've already tasted sweeter things than this." Her smile faltered for a second, but she turned away. Richard spoke loudly. "So, Daniel, when will we see you and Claire in our family business dinners again?" "Soon, I hope," Daniel replied. Claire added, "Yes, my parents' circle is important for us." I whispered, "And where do I fit in that circle?" Claire turned, pretending surprise. "Oh, don't take it that way. You're different." "Different how?" I asked calmly. "More private. You wouldn't enjoy it," she said quickly, brushing me aside. Daniel shifted. "Claire." "No, let her speak," I said firmly. My voice surprised even me. The table grew quiet. Eyes turned toward us. Claire laughed nervously. "I didn't mean anything. You know how sensitive she gets." I placed my hands flat on the table. "Sensitive, yes. Sensitive enough to feel the sting of being invisible at my own son's table." Daniel whispered, "Mom, please." I shook my head. "No, Daniel. Not this time. I've swallowed silence for too long." Martha leaned forward. "Let's not spoil the evening." I met her gaze. "The evening was spoiled the moment your daughter decided I didn't deserve even the smallest sign of respect." Claire gasped lightly, her eyes darting around the table. "Are you accusing me of something?" "Yes," I said steadily. "Of humiliating me while my son sat silent." Daniel's face turned pale. "Mom." I looked at him. "You let her strip me of dignity in front of everyone. Silence is betrayal too, Daniel." The room went still. Forks rested on plates, glasses lowered. Richard cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should move on." "No," I said, my voice sharp now. "We won't move on. Not tonight." Claire's face hardened. "You're being dramatic." I leaned forward. "Do you know what drama is, Claire? Drama is a woman working double shifts in freezing nights, sewing her son's torn clothes at midnight, skipping meals so he never went hungry. Drama is carrying all that weight alone after burying her husband and still smiling. That is drama. And tonight you turned it into mockery. Gasps rose from the table. Martha shifted uncomfortably. Claire's lips pressed tight, but she forced a laugh. You're making this bigger than it is. No, I whispered. I'm finally making it real. Daniel covered his face with his hands. Mom, please stop. I looked at him, tears burning my eyes. Why? Does the truth shame you? He didn't answer. I continued, my voice trembling yet steady. I gave you everything, Daniel. My body, my youth, my health, my dreams. I built your future brick by brick with bleeding hands. And tonight you couldn't lift a finger to defend me. Silence filled the room. Even the candles flickered lower. Claire shifted, her face red. You talk as if you're some kind of martyr. I stood slowly, my chair scraping the floor. Not a martyr. A mother. And one who has been underestimated for far too long. Eyes widened around the table. I straightened my back. You think I came here tonight as the poor widow who should be grateful for scraps of attention? You think I needed your gifts, your pity, your polished smiles? Claire sneered. What else could you possibly need? I locked eyes with her. Nothing from you. Because I have everything I need already. More than you could ever imagine. A murmur rippled through the guests. Tom frowned. What do you mean? I smiled faintly, though my heart pounded. You'll see. Daniel whispered. Mom, what are you saying? I placed my hand over his. I'm saying the woman you think you know is only the surface. And one day soon you will see the truth beneath. Claire laughed harshly. Empty words. Not empty, I replied calmly. Just delayed. The room buzzed with whispers. Claire flushed with anger, Daniel with shame. I lowered my voice. Tonight I was humiliated. But tomorrow, Claire, tomorrow, you'll understand that underestimating me was your greatest mistake. I sat back down slowly, the silence sharp as glass. The dinner continued awkwardly, but the seed was planted. And in my chest a strange calm settled. For the first time in years I felt powerful. The table was stiff with silence, though forks clinked softly as people pretended to eat. My heart thudded, but my face remained calm. Claire leaned closer to Daniel. This is ridiculous. Are you really going to let her talk like that? Daniel's jaw tightened. Claire, please. I lifted my glass slowly. No need to whisper. Say it so I can hear. Her eyes narrowed. Fine. You embarrassed us in front of our guests. I tilted my head. And you embarrassed me long before tonight. Gasp spread. Martha cleared her throat. We don't need this quarrel now. I met her gaze. You raised a daughter who finds joy in humiliation. Shouldn't we address it? Martha's lips pressed tight. Richard muttered, this is getting out of hand. I leaned forward, my voice steady. You all sit here acting like my silence means weakness. But silence is not weakness, it is patience. Claire scoffed. Patience for what? For the right moment, I said softly. Daniel looked at me, his face pale. Mom, what are you planning? I placed my fork down carefully. I'm planning nothing. I'm simply remembering. Claire rolled her eyes. More stories about struggle? Yes, I said firmly. Because struggle is my foundation. Do you know what it means to survive nights with no heat? Daniel shivering under a blanket while I stitched clothes for neighbors to earn rent? Do you know what it means to stand in grocery lines with coins counted twice, praying they'd be enough? No one spoke. I continued. And do you know what it means to rise from that? To build piece by piece, until the son I carried now wears suits and dines with polished families. Daniel whispered, Mom. I turned to him. I did all this not for myself but for you. And now I sit here treated like an unwanted guest. Claire crossed her arms. You're twisting everything. We welcomed you. Welcomed. I cut in. Welcomed with silence, with cutting remarks, with gifts dismissed as pity? No, Claire. That is not welcome. That is rejection dressed in velvet. Tom shifted uneasily. Maybe we should step outside. No, I said firmly. Everyone should hear this. The room stilled again. I looked around the table, each face avoiding my eyes. I won't stay invisible anymore. My story won't stay buried under your comfort. Claire smirked. So what, you'll expose us? Not expose, I replied softly. Illuminate. Daniel's voice cracked. Mom, please stop. You're making it worse. I faced him, my chest aching. No, Daniel. I'm making it clear. You need to choose who I am to you, a burden, or the very reason you stand where you are. Tears welled in his eyes. He whispered, don't make me choose. I already did, I said. Every night I chose for you. Every sacrifice was a choice. Now it is your turn. The air grew thick. Even the fire crackled lower as if listening. Claire finally snapped, her voice sharp. This is manipulation. I looked straight at her. No. This is truth. And truth doesn't need your approval. Her cheeks flushed red. Daniel dropped his gaze. His silence was heavier than words. I leaned back slowly, folding my hands in my lap. This is only the beginning. Tonight the mask slipped. Tomorrow more will follow. Claire frowned. What do you mean? You'll see, I said quietly. The pieces you thought you controlled will shift. And when they do, you'll understand what it means to underestimate me. No one spoke again. The weight of my words filled the room, pressing against every heart. And in that silence I felt the first spark of power flicker to life. The next day arrived heavy with tension. I hadn't slept. The weight of the dinner still clung to me like smoke. When I entered the kitchen, Claire was already there, sipping coffee. She didn't greet me. Morning, I said calmly. She looked me over, then smirked. Still planning your big speeches? I poured tea into a cup. No speeches today. Just clarity. She crossed her arms. Clarity? About what? About the life I built while you laughed at me. She laughed softly. You built? Yes, I said firmly. Brick by brick, night by night. Daniel entered, rubbing his eyes. What's happening now? I turned to him. Your wife thinks my sacrifices are jokes. Not jokes, Claire said smoothly. Exaggerations. I faced her again. Do you know how many pairs of shoes I polished for rich families while Daniel studied? How many nights I mended clothes until my fingers bled? That's not exaggeration. That's survival. Daniel whispered, Mom, please. I raised my hand. No, Daniel. You need to hear this. Tom stepped into the room, hesitating. Should I stay? I told him. You'll want to know the truth too. Claire rolled her eyes. Go ahead. Impress us. I leaned against the counter, my voice steady. While you sat counting gifts, I was counting profits. Small at first, stitching, cleaning, cooking, but every penny saved. Then came investments. Slow, cautious, deliberate. Land when it was cheap, stocks when no one believed. Years of hunger turned into an empire. Her smirk faltered. Empire. Yes, I said. Quietly built. Quietly grown. Registered in names you wouldn't recognize, but mine all the same. Daniel's mouth opened, then closed. Mom, what are you saying? I'm saying I am not who you think I am. I didn't stay poor. I didn't stay broken. I rose. Claire laughed nervously. You expect us to believe this fairy tale? I met her eyes. I don't need you to believe it. Soon you'll see it. Daniel shook his head, stunned. All those years, you never told me? You were a child, I said softly. My duty was to raise you, not burden you. But now you're grown and the truth matters. Tom frowned. Why reveal this now? Because last night I saw the line drawn, I replied. I saw where I stand in your hearts. And I will no longer stand there silently. Claire scoffed. So you're rich? Then why dress like this? Why live so simple? I smiled faintly. Because wealth means nothing if it owns you. I stayed simple because I remembered who I was. Daniel whispered, and who are you now? I am your mother, I said firmly. The woman who bled for you, who built for you, and who will not be erased by anyone. The room went quiet. Claire finally hissed, if this is true, then prove it. I stepped closer. Be careful what you ask for, Claire. Proof can cut deeper than words. She glared at me, her confidence slipping. Daniel touched her arm. Claire, enough. No, she snapped. She's manipulating you. I shook my head. No, Claire. I am awakening him. Tom cleared his throat awkwardly. Maybe we should all calm down. I looked at him. You've benefited from Daniel's work. Do you think it was handed to him freely? Well, it was built on my back, my sacrifices. You eat from a table I helped set. He lowered his gaze. Daniel finally sat, burying his face in his hands. Why didn't you trust me with this sooner? Because, I said softly, I wanted you to grow without debt to me. But when debt turns to disdain, the truth must surface. Claire whispered sharply, you're bluffing. You're desperate. I leaned in close enough for only her to hear. Desperate? Oh, dangerous perhaps. Because a woman who has lost everything once fears nothing anymore. Her eyes widened and she leaned back. The clock ticked loudly in the silence that followed. Finally, I placed my cup down and straightened. The days of silence are over. If you wish to treat me as invisible, then you will learn what it means when invisible hands control the ground you walk on. Daniel looked up slowly, his face pale. Mom, what do you mean? You'll see soon enough, I said. Truth doesn't hide forever. By evening, the house felt colder than the winter outside. Tension lingered in every corner. Daniel finally spoke as we sat in the living room. Mom, if what you said is true, then prove it to me. Please. I studied his face, the same face I once kissed goodnight after long shifts. You want proof? Yes, he whispered. I need to understand. Claire folded her arms. Don't encourage her, Daniel. She's spinning tales. I pulled a folded envelope from my bag and placed it on the table. Inside are documents, deeds, shares, accounts, all under my control. Daniel hesitated before opening it. His eyes scanned the pages, widening with each line. This can't be real. It is, I said quietly. Claire snatched the papers, flipping through. No, this is fake. You're trying to humiliate us. I leaned forward. I don't need to humiliate you, Claire. You've done that yourself. This is revelation. Martha gasped softly. Good heavens. Richard muttered, impossible. Tom scratched his head. So she really owns all this? Daniel looked at me, his voice breaking. All these years you lived like you had nothing. I nodded. Because I didn't want wealth to change me, or you. But last night when I saw my sacrifices mocked, I knew silence was no longer dignity. It was surrender. And I will not surrender. Claire slammed the papers down. So what if it's true? Money doesn't change how embarrassing you've been. I met her eyes. No, but it changes where you stand. This house you sit in, do you even know whose name secures it? The ground beneath your feet, the comfort you flaunt, threads of it trace back to me. He stiffened. Daniel rubbed his temples. Why hide this, Mom? Why now? Because timing matters, I said softly. And now is the moment you must see me, not as a burden, not as a relic, but as the foundation. Martha tried to speak. This is overwhelming. I nodded. Yes. Truth often is. Claire's voice rose. You think this makes you superior? It makes you manipulative. I replied calmly. It makes me free. And freedom is power. The room went still. Daniel whispered, I don't even know what to say. Say nothing, I told him. Just remember who carried you, who bled for you, who built for you. That truth is enough. Claire muttered, this changes nothing. I smiled faintly. It changes everything. Because now you know who I truly am. And knowledge cannot be undone. The silence that followed was heavier than any insult, thicker than any laughter. I leaned back in my chair, my heart steady for the first time in years. The balance has shifted. Whether you admit it or not, tonight you look at me differently. And that is enough. The next morning, whispers filled the house. I could hear them even before I stepped into the dining room. Claire's voice was sharp. She's bluffing. All of it, documents, stories, fake. Daniel answered softly, Claire, I saw the papers myself. You're blinded, she hissed. She wants control over us. I walked in calmly, my footsteps silencing them. If control was what I wanted, Claire, I would have taken it years ago. Her eyes narrowed. Then what do you want? Respect, I replied. Simple respect. She scoffed. Respect isn't bought with money. No, I said, but it's lost with cruelty. Daniel looked between us, his hands trembling. Please. Not again. I sat at the table. This isn't about fighting. This is about truth. And truth has a way of destroying lies. Claire crossed her arms. What truth? That you're some secret tycoon? Even if it's real, it doesn't matter. Daniel is my husband, not yours. You can't control him anymore. I leaned forward. You think this is about control? Well, it's about seeing who truly values him and who values only the comfort his name brings. Her cheeks flushed red. You're twisting everything. Martha entered, hearing the raised voices. What's happening? I turned to her. Your daughter questions every sacrifice I've made, even when the proof lies before her. Martha sighed. Claire, maybe you should be careful. Claire's eyes widened. Even you doubt me? Richard added coldly. She showed us the deeds, Claire. Hard to argue with ink. Claire glared at him. You too. Daniel whispered. Stop, Claire. Please. But she wouldn't stop. Her voice rose higher. All of you falling for her act. She plays the poor, selfless widow, and now she plays the hidden millionaire. It's all strategy. I remained calm. No strategy, Claire. Just patience. And patience always outlasts arrogance. Her hands shook. You'll regret crossing me. I smiled faintly. No, Claire. It is you who will regret underestimating me. The room went silent. Tom walked in awkwardly, holding his phone. This might be a bad time, but the firm called. They want confirmation about the real estate contract. Daniel looked confused. What contract? Tom swallowed. The one signed under your mother's holding company. Without her clearance, it doesn't move forward. Every eye turned toward me. Claire's mouth fell open. What? I folded my hands. Yes. That land you've been discussing, the one you thought secured, belongs to me. Daniel's face paled. Mom, is that true? I nodded slowly. Signed years ago. Quietly. Waiting for the right time. Claire exploded. You sabotaged us. No, I said evenly. I protected what I built. If you see that as sabotage, perhaps your intentions were never pure. Martha whispered, Dear God. Richard muttered, So she really does hold the strings. Daniel buried his face in his hands. Claire, what have we done? She turned to him desperately. Don't listen. She's manipulating us to break us apart. I stood, my voice sharp. I don't need to break you apart. You're doing that yourselves. Claire's lips trembled. Daniel, you believe her over me? He looked at her, his voice shaking. You mocked her, Claire. You humiliated her. And now everything she said is coming true. Tears welled in her eyes. I was protecting us. No, I said softly. You were protecting your pride. The silence was suffocating. Finally, Daniel whispered, I can't do this anymore. Claire gasped. What do you mean? He pushed his chair back. I can't keep choosing between my wife and my mother when one has given me everything and the other only takes. Her face drained of color. You're leaving me? He hesitated. I need space. To see things clearly. Claire's voice cracked. You can't do this. I whispered. He can. And he must. She turned to me, her eyes blazing. You ruined my marriage. No, Claire, I replied. Your cruelty did that. I only revealed the truth. She shook her head wildly, then stormed from the room, slamming the door behind her. Martha covered her face with her hands. My daughter. Richard sighed deeply. Your daughter played a dangerous game. And she lost. Tom muttered, Guess karma doesn't need much time. Daniel sat frozen, staring at the table. Mom, everything I thought I knew feels shattered. I placed a hand on his shoulder. Sometimes things must shatter before they can be rebuilt stronger. He whispered, And Claire? She will face her downfall, I said quietly. That is the price of betrayal. The weight of my words lingered. And though the storm had only begun, the air already smelled of justice. The night was heavy, shadows stretching across the dining room like scars. Daniel sat across from me, pale and restless. The silence between us was louder than any argument. Finally he spoke. Mom, I don't know what to do. My marriage is falling apart and everything I thought I understood feels like a lie. I met his eyes. Sometimes, Daniel, truth is cruel before it sets you free. He rubbed his temples. Claire said you planned this. That you waited until now to destroy her. I leaned forward. Do you think I wanted this? I wanted peace. I wanted family. But when peace is poisoned, truth must rise. His voice cracked. She's still my wife. I sighed. And I am still your mother. One gave you pain, the other gave you life. You decide who holds weight in your heart. Before he could answer, the door slammed open. Claire stood there, her face streaked with tears, her eyes blazing. You think you've won, she spat. But I won't go down quietly. I stood calmly. You already have. She stormed closer. No. Daniel, listen to me. He's twisted everything. She's pitting us against each other. Daniel's hands trembled. Claire, I saw the papers. I saw the contracts. She wasn't lying. Claire's voice rose. So you'll throw away our marriage for her? No, I interrupted softly. You threw it away the night you humiliated me at that table. Actions carve destiny, Claire. Not words. She turned to me, shaking. You can't take him from me. I don't need to take him, I said. He will choose. And that choice will reveal everything. Daniel stood, his face torn with anguish. Stop it, both of you. I can't breathe in this war. I whispered, then breathe in truth. Choose where you stand. The room shook with silence. Claire's voice cracked. Daniel, if you leave me, you'll regret it. You'll lose everything we built. He looked at her, his eyes hollow. What did we build, Claire? A home without love? A marriage without respect? You mocked the woman who gave me everything. That's what we built. Her lips trembled. I only wanted us to look strong. I stepped closer. Strength isn't built on cruelty. It's built on sacrifice. You never understood that. Claire's knees buckled and she sank into a chair. I didn't mean for it to end like this. Daniel's voice was steady now. But it has. And it's your doing. She looked up at him desperately. You're choosing her over me? He shook his head slowly. I'm choosing the truth over lies. The final thread snapped. Claire covered her face and sobbed, her pride dissolving into helplessness. I turned to Daniel. This is the climax of betrayal, my son. You see now the cost of silence, the cost of cruelty. He nodded weakly. I see. And I can't unsee it. I placed a hand on his shoulder. Then step into the light of truth and let the shadows fall where they must. Claire's sobs echoed through the house, but her voice no longer had power. The storm had broken, and in its ruin the truth stood clear. The house was eerily quiet after Claire's storm of tears. Daniel and I sat at the table, the candles half burned, the air thick with endings. He finally broke the silence. Mom, what happens now? I looked at him, my voice steady. Now, Daniel, you rebuild. Not with lies. Not with fear. With truth. He swallowed hard. And Claire. She chose her path. You can't carry both love and poison in the same heart. He leaned back, exhausted. I thought marriage meant forever. I thought I could fix her. You can't fix what refuses to change, I said gently. You can only choose not to be broken by it. His eyes glistened. Do you think I failed? I reached across the table and took his hand. No, my son. You were blind, but now you see. That is not failure. That is awakening. He exhaled shakily. I never realized how much I hurt you by staying silent. My chest ached, but I smiled softly. Silence cuts deeper than words. But today you spoke. That is what matters. He pressed my hand tighter. I don't deserve your forgiveness. You deserve growth, I replied. Forgiveness is already given. His lips trembled. I let her mock you. I let her shadow fall over you. And yet, I said, here you sit with truth shining in your eyes. Don't drown in guilt. Swim in change. He nodded, his face pale but resolute. I'll file for divorce. I can't let her destroy me or us. The word, us, warmed me. Good. Endings are painful, but they open space for beginnings. He whispered, I feel empty. I answered, emptiness is the soil where new life grows. He looked at me long, his shoulders heavy. Will you stay with me while I rebuild? I smiled faintly. I have always been here, Daniel. I never left. Tears slipped down his cheeks. I don't deserve you. I shook my head. You deserve truth, love, and a chance to live fully. That is enough. The night stretched on, heavy yet calm. Claire's footsteps faded upstairs, a ghost already vanishing. Daniel spoke again, his voice steadier. Mom, one day I want to be strong enough to give you back what you gave me. You already have, I said softly. You gave me truth tonight. That is the greatest gift. He leaned against me, his voice breaking. I love you, Mom. I kissed his forehead. And I love you, my son. That bond will outlast every storm. The clock ticked. The fire dimmed. Yet inside I felt light grow. This was not the end. It was the resolution. Morning light spilled into the kitchen, pale and cold. Daniel sat across from me, his coffee untouched, his eyes swollen from a sleepless night. He spoke first. She's gone. I woke up and her things were missing. No note. Nothing. I nodded slowly. A departure without words speaks louder than any excuse. She chose silence when truth cornered her. He sighed heavily. I thought I'd feel relief. Instead I feel hollow. Hollow spaces heal, I said gently. They ache at first, but they make room for better things. His jaw tightened. Part of me wonders if I drove her away. No, I replied firmly. She drove herself away with cruelty, with deceit. You only opened your eyes. He looked at me, searching. Do you think karma is real? I met his gaze. Karma is not a punishment. It is a mirror. She will see her reflection one day. His voice dropped. And me? You are already facing yours, I answered. But yours leads to growth, not ruin. He rubbed his hands together nervously. What if I fail again? What if I choose wrong again? I reached for his hand. Failure is refusing to learn. You're learning. That is enough. His shoulders trembled. I can't stop hearing her words. The way she laughed at you, mocked you. It haunts me. I whispered. Then let that memory guide you, not destroy you. Remember what cruelty feels like so you never allow it near again. He nodded slowly. I'll remember. Silence stretched, but it was no longer sharp. It was soft, like the quiet after a storm. Finally he said, Last night I thought my world ended. But now, maybe it's just beginning. I smiled faintly. Every ending is a doorway. You've stepped through it. Now walk. He laughed weakly. You always know what to say. I know because I lived it, I said. I buried a husband. I raised you alone. I carried pain, but I never let it define me. That is the lesson. His eyes filled again. I see you differently now. Not just as my mother, but as the strongest person I know. Tears burned my eyes, but I held steady. Strength is born in fire. And now you've felt the flames yourself. He whispered, I'll be better. For you. For me. I nodded. Be better for truth. That is the only way. The clock chimed softly. Morning fully arrived. Claire was gone, but the weight of her cruelty lingered like smoke fading into the sky. I stood, my heart lighter. The storm has passed, Daniel. The house is scarred, but it still stands. So do we. He rose too, his posture taller than I'd ever seen. We do. And in that quiet moment I knew. Karma had spoken. The lies had crumbled, the cruel had fallen, and truth, though battered, remained. The ending was not hers. It was ours.